This is One Fat Boy. Now we're going over the 4 outcomes of games, which are a defensive win or lose, an offensive win or lose. Okay. This is One Fat Boy. Now we're going over the 4 outcomes of games, as these are different ways to look at games and how they will end, as this is more of a thought exercise more than anything else. And I will go into a few ways to think about this. First way to think about the 4 different outcomes is to look at spreads and money lines. So let's say we have Team A, the spread of the game was -5 in their favor, so they can either cover the spread or they can cover the money line or both. So that's 2 of the outcomes. Or you have the underdog, Team B, and they can cover the +5 spread, or they can just outright win. So that's technically 4 outcomes of the games. There's always an optimal one to choose, as usually least optimal one would be the favorite just to outright win, as that's the lowest payout, but there's other factors like overall risk that you have to factor in, but that's technically 4 outcomes. The way to think about the 4 outcomes is a team can either win or lose. Let's take a look at a favorite. They can win or lose the game, but they're likely to win. So if they play how they should, they win. They are the better team, so they should win if they play to their strengths. The favorite could lose. They did not have a good game and made a lot of mistakes that allowed the underdog to win. Now let's look at the underdog scenarios. They are expected to lose, and they were unable to slow down the favorite, therefore they lost. Or the underdog won. Someone on the team got hot, or they minimized their mistakes and won the game. The scenarios that are the outliers are the favorite losing and the underdog winning. Assuming one team plays consistently to how they usually play, and the other has an outlier game which will flip the result. For the favorite to lose, they are likely to have a bad game and beat themselves. And for the underdog to win, it's likely they had an above average game for them to win. This is assuming that both teams are trying to win and not tanking. This way to think about the 4 outcomes is an offensive win or loss or a defensive win or loss. So games are usually going to lead towards more offensive for the entire game or more of a defensive type of game. So this tree is based off one team, so they're playing the game. They're either going to play more defensive or more offensive. That's just determined before the game, as they are a more defensive or offensive team. And then can either say from that attribute whether that leads to them winning or leads to them losing. As trying to do this with 2 teams at the same time, you get a 16 branch and then a lot of overlap, so it gets confusing. So if look at it by one team at a time, you get 4 options, and it's easier to run through those 4 scenarios as you're just looking at one team and kind of judging them within those bounds, as most teams will either win or lose on the back of their defense or their offense. Teams either win or lose, but there is layers to think about how a team can lose and how much they lose by. It is another way to look at sport outcomes.